the instructions of mine. Okay, have you noted down? So be on time during the lecture hours, right? The 11:40. Have you noted down these equations? Okay. Now for that, first of all, what you have to do? You have to convert this equation in terms of the augmented coefficient matrix. In first step, just convert the set of equations into the augmented coefficient matrix, which is like AX is equal to B. Okay. Have you done? And I shared my lecture notes also, right? So if you will have any question or any doubt, just open that for reference. Already uploaded on Moodle. Download from that and take the help of it to solve these questions, right? In that, each and every steps were mentioned with detail. Have you made this first coefficient matrix? Now just do second step. In that, what you have to do? You have to write down A is equal to L and transpose of L. So N is nothing but our lower triangular matrix. And how to write the transpose of this lower triangular matrix? So first row that you have to write down in a form of the column. Second row, second column, and third row, third column. And just do the multiplication of these two matrices, right? In the second step. And compare values with this your augmented matrix. And just tell me the unknown variables value that you got in this step number 2. Have you started calculation? Just write down in chat box yes or no. I will come to know what you guys are doing. Everybody just write down in your chat box yes or no. Okay. It means you will be there, right? Okay. If you have calculated, then okay, fine. She got values of x, y, and z is equal to 2, 3, and minus 1. Okay. What about the y1, y2, and y3? This one is the correct. Okay. What about others? Have you got all these values? Sam means what? Just write down the values, Manish. Whatever value that you got by calculation, just write down it. You can tell me value for y1, y2, and y3. 5, 4 and 9. 5 minus 4 and minus 9. No, it's wrong. Just check it out. 5 is correct, but minus 4 and minus 9 is wrong. Just check it out. The minus 2 and minus 3. Yeah. Minus 2 and minus 3. Yeah. So 6 square is there, then just take the square root of it. Okay. Minus 3. Okay. What about others? Yes, Dipti, then Rahul, then Abhishek, then Ardit Vasawa, Joy Garasya. Number 4, Tanmay. 5 minus 2 minus 3. And values of x. So Vamsi, then Devansh. Okay. Now we have completed this example. Just note down the second one. Note down the second one. Positive values. Where you are talking about these coefficients 1, 2, and 3, and all. And 1, 1. So you can take any of this, right? Either plus 1. Yeah, answers will be different. Yeah, I had given one task to you in last lecture, right? In last lecture, we had discussed one question. A and B also, because you are going to be substitute the value of A, right? A. That we'll discuss in the next theory. Okay, why are we taking the absolute values instead of the negative values? Exactly. So for that, next theory will be there. In that, we'll discuss about these values. Instead of this negative, why are we taking the positive? Right? Yes, so whenever we'll go with the matrix, at that time, if positive and negative two values are available with you, then you have to take the absolute values, okay? So if positive or negative, anything is there, you have to just concentrate on the value instead of the sign before that. Because what should happen if we go with the negative values, then sometimes we'll get the very small values. In algo it is not there, and for that the next theory is there, right? It's a row pivoting. So in that we'll discuss about these things, right? Even in book also they have mentioned that I have shared with you in Moodle. Whenever you will go with the book in that they have mentioned that if positive and negative two values were there, then what you have to do, you have to consider the absolute values instead of the relative values. Because right now what we are doing, we are just discussing about the set of the 3 or 4 equations, right? But just take an example, if we'll implement all these methods in a real-time applications, and in that number of equations are available with us. And at that time, if we'll take these negative values, then sometimes what we are not able to find out the exact solution for the set of equations, right? So because of that reason only, what we are doing, we are taking the absolute values instead of the relative values whenever we'll do the solution with the help of the matrix, right? Okay. Okay. So today we'll start with the next theory. For the same theory, I will give some examples for a practice during your tutorial lectures, right? Okay. So today we'll start with the new concept with the same chapter named pivoting. So what do you mean by the pivoting? So pivot is nothing but the first. So for tutorial, I had given some examples, right, that you can do by yourself. We'll discuss the answer during our lecture hours in the last 10 minutes. Okay. So there is a there is a no wastage of your time as well as mine, right? That you can solve at any time whenever you will be free. We'll just discuss the answers, and if any question or any doubt, that we'll do during our regular lectures in a 10 minutes, right? Because our concept should be clear, then we don't need so much time for all these things, right? So right now we'll start with the next theory in a same unit named pivoting. So in pivoting, what do you mean by this? So pivot is a one value. Already you have studied with the data structure subject in a quick short algorithm is there, right? In that we'll take one word, pivot. So pivot is the what? The value that we are going to be considered, and with the help of that, we are just following the steps in our algorithm, and we'll just find out the exact solution, right? The same thing that we are applying with these direct methods. So pivoting is nothing but the order in which the equations are presented to the solution algorithm has a profound effect on a result. Now, what do you mean by this? Say set of equations are given to you, and sometimes what happens if the 3 or 4 equations are there, and we'll write down some in the same manner, and we'll get the different answer. Okay, if we'll rearrange the set of the equations, at that time also we are able to find out the different answers. So for that, first of all, what we have to do, we have to just fix one order in which order we are going to execute all these equations, and with the help of that, we will calculate the unknown factors that is available in the set of equations, right? So over here, say one simple example I have taken to understand these concepts, right? So in this first one, say 2x1 minus 2x2 is equal to 1, then second equation and then third equation. Now what I have done, I have just written the corresponding augmented matrix, right? Which is equal to A by B. That already we know. So 2 minus 1 and 0. Now what we have done, we have just identified the diagonal. Then after, we'll perform the same row manipulation operations over here, right? So 2 minus 1 and 0. Because what we want to convert this matrix into the upper triangular format. So 2 minus 1, 0 and 1 is there. After doing this operation with the row number 2, in fact what we are doing, we are multiplying the row 2 by number 2 and adding with the number row 1, right? And by doing these operations on the row number 2, we got this C is equal to the second matrix, right? Again, what we are doing, still minus 1 is there. If we want to make this matrix as a upper triangular matrix, and what we have to do, we have to make this minus 1 is equal to 0. Then again, we'll do these row manipulation operations over here. For that, what are we doing? We are multiplying row 3 by 3 and adding with the row 2. And by doing this, we got this final C matrix. This one is the which is in the last matrix. Okay. So after the diagonal, my 3 elements should be equal to 0. Now what we have to do? We have to perform the back substitution. And by doing this step, we got the values of x3, x2, and x1. The last one is the x1. I have written by mistake x3. Okay. So all these three values is equal to 0. So over here, what I have done, I have taken the Gauss elimination method, and with the help of that, I have just performed the solution for the set of equation. Now, instead of this Gauss elimination, you can take any method, either Doolittle method or the Cholesky's method, okay? And verify your answers for this x1, x2, and x3. So you got the same answers, right? Now suppose what I'm doing, I'm just interchanging the position of the row 1 to row 3 and row 3 to row 1, right? So what happened after this? So suppose that we change the first and the third equation so that the augmented matrix become like this. Now over here, just set it out. In my diagonal, 2 elements are equal to 0. Only second element is equal to 2. Fine. So after applying again this Gauss elimination method to find out the values of x1, x2, and x3, what happened? I got this final matrix, right? So in this final matrix, maximum number of values of my matrix is equal to 0. So whenever number of values in matrix is equal to 0, so it takes a very less amount of time for a large calculation, right? Only what we have to do, we have to do the simple x substitution, and with the help of that, we can easily find out the unknown values, right? Just compare this matrix with this my previous matrix. So in previous matrix, uh, some values is equal to 2, some values are equal to 3, some values are equal to minus 2. And if I want to find out the value calculation or unknown values, then what I have to do, I have to perform either addition or division or the subtraction or the multiplication. But if I will get values like these only in terms of the minus 1 or 1, at that time I don't have to go with the complex mathematical operations. I can directly find out the values in a simple way, right? So to make our calculation as easy as possible, as well as the less amount of errors, right? What are we doing? We are using this pivoting concept. So with the help of the pivoting concept, first of all, what are we doing? We are just identifying the pivot value. So over here in my this augmented matrix, the first 0 in the first row is equal to what? 0, right? And whenever I will consider this value as a pivot element, so what happened in my resultant augmented matrix, each and every values are in a terms of the unit value, right? And by converting all this, by doing all these things, what happened? Whenever I want to calculate the unknown values, so it's a little bit easy for me instead of the previous calculation. Got it? So whenever we want to make a lengthier set of the equations in a very easiest form calculation, at that time what are we doing? We are using these pivoting concepts. Now, uh, why it is required? So row pivoting is sometimes called the reordering, because what are we doing? We are just exchanging the uh, position of the row 1 to row 3 to row 1 as per the our requirement, right? So is required if the pivot element. So over here, my pivot element is the what? Is first one, first 0. Okay. So first 0, if I want to write down in terms of the array, then what is the value? A11. First row and first column, right? So first is not equal to 0, but very small in comparison to the other elements in the pivot row. Now pivot row is what? Pivot row is what? Suppose this one is my pivot element. So whichever elements these are available with this row are called the pivot elements, right? Now what we have to do? We have to compare this pivot element with the remaining elements. If it is equal to 0, then obviously we got the remaining values is a nearby unit. But if it is not 0, then what we have to do? We have to check it out. Say it should not be a very small in a comparison to the other elements in the pivot row. Because if this one is the very small compared to the other elements, so instead of the 0, suppose this one is the like 0.125 or 0.33 or 0.25, then what happened? Whatever value that we'll get for the x1, x2 and x3, which are not accurate, we got the some approximate values, right? And we have to perform again round of operation. Right now what we are doing? We are doing all this calculation in a theoretical way. And that's why it is a very easy to make this calculation. But suppose if you want to make some programming for the same set of equations, so at that time you have to perform the different mathematical things, right? First of all, you have to do the swapping of the row. Second time you have to just find out the maximum value. Third time that you have to just find out the compare all these things. If you will get the very small value, then you have to make the round off, right? So it's a little bit complex. And for that, what we are using? We are using this row pivoting concept. Up to this, are you clear? Have you understood? Why are we going with this pivoting concept? Because we don't want to make our mathematical calculations too much complex, right? And that's why what we are doing, we are using this row pivoting concept with these all methods. We'll study each and everything in detail with the example. So you will understand very well, right? Up to this, are you getting me? Just write down in chat box. What is the pivoting? Why are we studying this? Just write down in chat box, yes or no. Then I will go with the next theory. Everyone, just write down in your chat box. Are you getting? What is the concept of the pivoting? Why are we studying this? And what is the use of it? And how to apply it? You guys are there? Just write down in chat box, yes or no. Are you getting me? Whatever we have discussed? Okay, fine. Now, the next concept, that is the diagonal dominant. Okay. So what do you mean by this diagonal dominant? So diagonal dominant is used for this n cross n matrix. Suppose one n cross n matrix is said to be a diagonally dominant if each diagonal element. So diagonal elements are what? A11, A22 and A33, right? So these are the three diagonal elements in our matrix. So each diagonal element is larger than the sum of the other elements in the same row. Just concentrate on each and every one. Suppose one matrix is given to you, and if you have to check the given matrix is diagonally dominant or not, then how to check it? First of all, you have to find out the diagonal element. So in our matrix, three diagonal elements are there: -2, -1, and 1. Right? That I have mentioned. A11 is equal to -2, A22 is equal to -1, and A33 is equal to 1. Now that we have to compare with the larger is the larger than the sum of the other elements in the same row. So suppose we will consider the first row. So in first row, remaining two values are what? 4 and 1. So it should be greater than this 4 plus 1, that is the 5. Okay. In the same way, second row, say 1, -1 and 3. Three values are there. My diagonal value is what? -1. So what I have to do? I have to check this -1. Over here, what we are doing? We are taking all values as a absolute value. Either it is a positive or a negative, but we'll consider by default as a positive. Okay. So what we have to do over here, a22 is equal to 1. So compare this 1 with the remaining values sum. Okay. So that I have written with the help of the equation to explain you in a better way, right? My screen is visible to you? Okay. Fine. So over here, A11, this one is my first diagonal element, should be greater than the sum of the other elements in the same row. So in the same row, two elements are there, A12 and A13. So A11 is equal to what? 2. So it is a by default minus 2. But what we have to do? We have to take as an absolute value. And for that, we have to just write down it as a positive, right? So 2 should be greater than 4 plus 1, that is 5. No. A22, for that, if we want to write down the equation, then what is the value? A22 should be greater than A21 plus A23. So A22 which contains the value 1 should be greater than the addition of top of 1 and 3, that is equal to 4, which is not true, right? Same way for A33. So A33 contains value 1, which should not be greater than 4 plus 1, that is, sorry, 4 and 2. So over here, instead of this 2, 6 is there, okay? I have written by default 2 in the last equation, 1 should be greater than 2. So instead of 2, it was a 6, right? So from these values, we can say that given matrix is a not diagonally dominant. Now this kind of example should be asked in your examination for 1 or 2 marks. When a matrix is simple given to you, you have to just check it out. It is a row or pivoting or not, or is it diagonally dominant or not. So how to check? You have to just find out the values, and with the help of that, you can say that.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, I want to ask if other elements like in the first row A12 is 4, if it
Okay.
is minus 4 in the case instead of 4, if we have
Okay.
to also take the absolute value of that,
Yeah.
absolute value we have to take.
Yeah. Instead of the minus, you have to consider as a positive value 4. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
For each and every bit, for each and every element of the matrix, right? And that's why in a previous theory, we have taken the value of a is equal to positive 1 instead of the minus 1. You asked me na so many times, why are we taking the positive 1 instead of the negative 1? Because if we'll take a negative 1, then we got some of the values as a imaginary. And how to write down the program for the imaginary values? It is a little bit difficult for you, right? Because you face some of the problems during the last lab also. Fine. So that's why whenever we are going with this programming, at that time we are taking each and every values as a positive instead of the negative. But in the theory portions, we will consider this in this way. Okay. So now what are we doing? We want to make this matrix as a diagonally dominant. So for that, what we have to do? We have to rearrange the rows, right? Now for that, first of all, what we have to do? We have to identify from each row largest element, right? So in first row, which one is my largest element? 4. In the second row, my largest element is equal to 3. And in third row, my largest element is equal to 4. Understand? So what I'm doing, I'm just doing the order changing of the each row. So either I can take this third row as a first, then second row as a third, and first row as a second. Okay. So what are we doing? This one is my original matrix. Over here, what I'm doing, I'm keeping this third row as the first one. Okay. So 4 minus 2 and 1. This one is my new matrix A dash. It is visible to you? Okay. So this one is my initial matrix A. So in A, these are the values, right? Now what I'm doing, I'm just doing the rearrangement of the rows, right? So over here, what I'm doing, I'm taking this third row as a first row. That is a 4 minus 2 and 1. Then second row as a third row. So 1 minus 1 and 3. And the remaining first row as a second row. So minus 2, 4 and 1. Okay. Now just check it out the diagonal values. So 4, 4 and 3. Now again I'm doing this end. So A1, 1, that is a 4. So 4 should be greater than 3. Yes. A22 is equal to 4. 4 should be greater than 3. Yes. And A33, there is a 3. 3 should be greater than 2. So over here 2 is there, the last one that I have cancelled, right? So it is nothing but the 2. So now just check it out. In our previous case, all these conditions should not be satisfied, but over here all these three conditions should be satisfied. So now we can say that the given matrix is a diagonally dominant. Okay, so these are the some very simple concepts that should be asked in your examination for a 2 marks or a 1 mark, right? So what you have to do, you have to just keep in mind all these concepts. It is a very easy, no need to worry about things, right? So are you getting this concept? How to check given matrix is a diagonally dominant or not? Only these equations that you have to keep in mind. Okay? Each and every diagonal element should be greater than the sum of the elements in a row. Fine? Up to this, are you getting me? Just write down in chat box yes or no. Are you getting this concept? Write down. Okay. Fine. So in the last to last theory, we have discussed about this Gauss elimination method without any row pivoting. But over here, what we are doing, we are taking the scale row pivoting concept with the Gauss elimination method. Now, how it is the difference from the previous one, that we'll discuss with this set of theory plus examples, right? So first of all, aim of this pivoting is to what? To improve the diagonal dominant of the coefficient matrix, right? Now, what do we mean by that? Making the pivot element as large as possible in a comparison to the other elements in the pivot row, right? So as we have discussed over here, now just check it out. My pivot element is equal to what? 4. So 4 is the greater than 2 as well as 1. In the second row, my pivot element is the 4, which is the greater than 2 and 1. And in third row, my pivot element is equal to 3, which is the greater than 1 and 1. Okay. So this one is my first aim. And by using this row pivoting concept, what I want to do, I want to make the pivot element in each row, which is as large as possible compared to the other elements in the same row, right? Now the comparison is made easier if we establish an array S with the elements. So array S is a nothing but the scale factor of row I. Wait, I think my screen is a little bit lagging, right? The screen is visible to you? The Gauss elimination with this scale row pivoting, is it visible to you? Now just tell me my screen is visible. Okay, fine. What are we doing? We are discussing this Gauss elimination method with the concept of this row pivoting. Right. Now what do we mean by this? In that what we want? We want to make our row pivot element as large as possible in comparison to the other elements in the pivot row. Right. Now for that what we are doing? We are using one scale factor variable S of row I. So over here, I have written one formula how to calculate these scale factors. So S of I is the what? Maximum of the j in a row of ij. Now what do we mean by this? S of I is called the scale factor of row I. Suppose I'm doing calculation for the row 0. At that time I have to calculate the skull factor of the row 0, then row 1, then row 3 up to row n, right? Which contains the absolute value of the largest element in the ith row of A. So how to make this skull factor of row? Now one more thing, when to apply this pivot and why not we applying this pivot, okay? So there are some basic matrix is not a diagonally dominant. So in our previous theory, whichever we had completed different examples, right? So for that, we have not checked matrix is diagonally dominant or not. So at that time, first of all, what we have to do, we have to check it out. If it is not, then make it as a diagonally dominant, and then after apply this pivot. Okay. If your matrix is not diagonally dominant, then first of all, what you have to do, you have to make it as a diagonally dominant. Then after controlling the round of errors in terms of the double precisions, right? So for these two things, we are using this pivot. Now, why not be using pivot for a large set of equations, so which increase the time of the computation? Because first of all, we have to calculate the scale factor, then apply the scale factor, again identify the pivot row, then do the calculations, right? And the destruction of the symmetry and banded structure of the coefficient matrix. So whenever we apply this pivot on any coefficient matrix, then what should happen? We are just changing the structure of the coefficient matrix, right? Fine. And because of these two reasons, sometimes we are not going with this pivot, right? So this one is the one example. Say Gauss elimination, it is scale row pivoting to solve this equation. So if in exam the scale row pivoting word is not mentioned, then you have to simply follow the steps that we had discussed in the previous theories, right? So just make the coefficient matrix, the upper triangular matrix, then back substitution. But if this word is mentioned along with the question, then what you have to do, you have to use this scale row matrix S, right? And with the help of that, you have to just find out the unknown values. So how to do these things? So first of all, just write down the augmented coefficient matrix, so A and B that we are combined. Now how to make this scale row factor matrix? So for that, what we have to do? We have to take the first row. Over here, we don't have to consider the values of the B, right? We have to just consider the values from this first 3 cross 3 matrix only. Okay, so in first row, these three values are there, 2, -2 and 6, right? So out of these three values, which one is the largest one? 6, so that you have to write down in a first row. In the second row, which one is the largest one? 4, that you have to write down the second row. And in third row, which value is the largest one? 8, that you have to write down in the third row. Okay, so like in this way, we'll calculate this or we'll make this scale row factor matrix X. Right. So S contains what? The absolute value of the largest element in each row of A. I have written each and everything in the easiest way. Explain, right? Now in the step number 2, what you have to do, you have to determine the base pivot element, calculate the relative size of the elements in the first one. Now how to do this? So for that, what you have to do, you have to find out the relative size of the elements in the first column. Now for that, you have to just write down R11, R22 and R31. Okay, it means what? In each row, first element, right? And for each and everything, you have to take the absolute values. Okay, so how to calculate this R11? So A11 by S1. A21 by S2 and A31 by S3. Okay. Now in our matrix, A11 is equal to what? 2 and S1 is equal to what? 6. So just divide this 2 by 6. We got 1 by 3 and which is equal to approximate 0.33. Right? Same way, in a second row, your first element. So A21 by S2. So A21 is equal to what? 2. But what we have to do, we have to take the absolute value. So which becomes 2, right? Which divided by the 4. So which is equal to 1 by 2, nothing but the point 50. And then after A31 by S3. So A31 is equal to what? Minus 1. But if we write down in this way, then we will make it as a positive, that is a 1. 1 by 8, which is equal to 0.125. So in first step, what you have to do, you have to write down the augmented coefficient matrix as well as the calculate the scale rho, okay, scale factor of rho. Then in second step, what you have to do, you have to identify the best pivot element. And for that, you have to do the calculation of the first element of each row. Okay. So over here, we got the three values R11, R21 and R31, which is equal to 0.33, 0.50 and 0.125. Now out of these three values, which one is the largest element? R21. So that we have to take as a ID. Okay, so we conclude that R21, it means A21, which makes the best pivot element. And with the help of that, we'll do the exchange of the row 1 and the row 2. So now get it? How to identify the exchanging order of the row 1 and row 2 or any other row. So with the help of these relative calculations, we can find out the exchange order of the row, right? So over here, what we have to do, we have to change the order of the row 2 with the row 1, right? So initially, this one is the matrix. Now after doing interchanging row 2 with the row 1, what we got? We got minus, this one is the new matrix. So minus 2, 4, 3, 0. And with that, we have to change the same values in the S matrix also, right? In the same way, again, what you have to do, you have to convert this one is the, again, you have to perform this Gauss elimination steps, right? With the help of the upper triangular matrix, just calculate the values, okay? So after doing that, what we got? We got this since row 1 is acted as the pivot element row. So R21 is excluded from the further consideration. And again, what you have to do, you have to calculate the relative calculations. Okay, so over here R21 becomes 0, that we don't have to consider, right? Then R22 and then R32, right? So what we got? 2 by 6 and 10 by 8. And with the help of that, we got two values, 0.33 and 1.2. So which one is the largest one? 1.25. That is the R32. So over here, what are we doing? We are just exchanging the row 2 and row 3. Okay. And by doing that, we got this new C matrix. Right? And again, we have to do this same elimination phase. And by doing that, what we got in this way upper triangular matrix. I just substitute the values. So over here, we got the value of x3 is equal to 2, x2 is equal to minus 1, and x1 is equal to 1. Okay? So only new steps are what? You have to find out the scale matrix S, then you have to find out the relative size of the row. Okay? And with the help of that, you have to identify the exchange order of the row 1, row 2 or row 3. And then after you have to follow the same steps as the Gauss elimination method, right? And how many times you have to do these things up to the upper triangular matrix? Our augmented matrix converts into the upper triangular matrix, right? So after this fourth step, we got in this way C is equal to 0 and 0, but still one element is not 0. Then again we have to do the things, right? So today we have completed three concepts. First one is the after row exchange. Okay. After row exchange. After this one, na? Okay. So in the first step, what we have done, we have just calculated this S, right? S matrix. Now after that, what we want? We want to make the calculation of this which row that we have to that we have to choose as the pivot row, right? So for that, what we have done, we have calculated these relative values of the rows R11 up to this. Are you getting me now? Okay. Now with this help of R21, we can understand is the A21. What we have done, we have just with the help of this relative value, we have identified which row that we want to exchange, right? So it's the A21. So over here, what we have to do, we have to make the second row as a first and first row as a second, right? So initially, which are the values that we had? So C is equal to 2 minus 2, 6 and 16. This one is my original augmented matrix, right? Now what we want? We want to make the second row as a first and first row as a second. So just doing the stepping of these two. So my first row is a 2 minus 2, 6 and 16 along with the S value, that is a 6, which becomes the second row. Okay. So 2 minus 2, 6 and 16 along with the 6 that I have written as a second row and second row as a first row. Wrapping of this first and second row, right? Now what we have to do? After that, we got this new my augmented matrix and this one is the S factor, right? So what we have to do? We have to follow the same Gauss elimination steps. In Gauss elimination steps, what are we doing? After the augmented coefficient matrix, we are just trying to convert it into the upper triangular format, right? So what I have done, I have just identified this diagonal and doing these row manipulation operations over here, and with the help of that, I got this first two value is the R21 and R31, which is equal to 0, right? So this one is the my first step. Up to this clear? Yeah, that's I'm saying. So over here only two elements became the 0. Still one element is not there, right? Then what we have to do? We have to again do the same thing that we have done in the second step. So row 1 is acted as the pivot row that we have identified over here. Okay. And so what we have to do? We don't have to consider. Now what we have to do? See in my first row, two elements become 0, right? Now in a second row, second column, then that I have to make it as a 0 to make this matrix in the upper triangular matrix, right? And for that, what I have to do? I have to take the help of this relative calculations, right? So over here, what I'm doing? I'm taking this second column, the R21, R22, and R32. Okay. Again, I'm using the same formula as we have discussed in the step number 2. So for R22, what we have to do? A22 divided by S2. So what is the value of A22? That is 2 by 6. So which is equal to 1 by 3, and 1 by 3 is equal to 0.33, right? Then A32 and S3. Now why are we not taking value of this R21? Because this value 4, which is right now as a pivot element in my pivot row, right? And that's why we are not making calculations for this R21. Now suppose my third row is equal to say pivot element, then at that time I don't have to make the calculation for this values, right? So now after this relative calculation, we got two values, 0.33 and 1.25. So with the help of this, we can understand that what I have to do. I have to exchange row 2 with the row 3. So now what I have to do, the third row is the better pivot row. So after interchanging row 2 and row 3, now my new pivot row becomes what? The row number 3, right? And again we do the same elimination step, right? And by doing that, we got this new matrix, right? So now my matrix becomes 0. Sorry, upper triangular matrix is equal to 0, right? All these three values below the diagonal is equal to 0. Now after doing this, same as the Gauss elimination method, we have to follow the text substitution phase. And by doing that, we got this value of x3, x2 and x1, right? So in our normal Gauss elimination method, we are directly doing this row manipulation by applying the mathematical operations. But over here, if you want to make any row manipulation operations, then first of all, what you have to do, you have to just calculate the relative values, identify the pivot row, and with the help of that, you have to do the thing, right? You can't go directly with this row manipulation method. So this one is the difference between this Gauss elimination with this scaled row pivoting and without row pivoting. Okay. Now clear? Okay. So we'll discuss examples for the same theory in the next lecture, right? Up to this, are you getting me? Everybody. So I'll give some examples. So with the help of that, you can make calculation by yourself. So you will be understanding very well, right? Because this one is the one subject in that if you will not do calculation by yourself, then you don't have any confidence regarding these solutions of each and every examples, right? And that's why I have given the tutorial. So at least whenever you will be free, you will do some calculations. So with the help of that, your concept should be clear with the theory, right? Because once your concept should be clear, then there is a no need to take a textbook or the reference books and just go with that. The examples are in front of you, you are able to make the calculations, right? And for the lab session, I have already uploaded some pseudocode for the Gauss elimination method as well as some reference code also, right? So in 2 o'clock lab, you have to go with that, just complete today. And if any questions or any doubt, that will solve during the lecture hours, right? So we have not completed installation of the Python or anybody has any doubt, just complete those things first. Because from now onwards, you have to start with the assignments of the lab, right? Okay. So don't leave before me, otherwise you will be absent.